brother!
And welcome everyone to our Wicked review.
It was totally wicked!
So totally wicked!
Oh man, this is going to be, I think, a very interesting one for me in particular, because without getting too far into all of my thoughts, I enjoyed the movie, although, that's an understatement, but like, I also...
I was going to say, wait, just enjoyed it?
Okay.
No, I don't get ahead of myself either.
People are like putting their pitchforks back down now. It's like, okay, man, we'll hear you out. No, I don't know how much I underestimated. Like, for one, I went into this movie knowing literally nothing.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
Okay.
You in Office played me the song Popular for the first time yesterday. I learned for the first time yesterday that when my own wife was doing pageants, the song that she performed on stage was Popular.
Wow.
And I did not know that song.
That's hilarious.
Yes. So I feel like wildly, I almost feel like a very high degree of not even imposter syndrome, but like just straight imposter, because I don't know as much about the Wizarding World, or not the Wizarding World. I know a lot about the Wizarding World.
The Wizard of Oz.
The
Land of Oz. Yeah.
The Land of Oz. And so like literally as I'm like watching the story unfold and like getting towards, the end of the movie, I'm talking to my wife as we're exiting, and I'm like, wait, so is she like in the Wizard of Oz? Is she the villain? And I needed like explanations.
Right. Yeah. So I'll give you my background with it as well, in terms of like the musical onstage Broadway theater show and the Wizard of Oz movie, and then like the Wizard of Oz like books and the Wicked novel.
Okay.
And all of that
so there's
stuff.
an extended universe.
There's like it's very hard to know. Like it's one that I haven't really dived into a ton.
Okay.
But I think Wicked is based on a novel.
Okay.
The Broadway show is, and then The Wizard of Oz is based on a series of novels as well. But I think the novels came first, then The Wizard of Oz, then someone else wrote the Wicked novel, and then I think I don't know. But that's just giving you a grounds for like I don't know all of the source material or anything. But it seems to me that watching it, that if you had seen the movie The Wizard of Oz, that was good enough to be going on.
Okay.
However, if you had seen the musical or knew anything about the musical, you were in heaven. Because it seemed like from my wife who has seen it, that they were just nailing every single aspect of it, and they didn't leave anything out.
Okay.
And that's kind of what it felt like, because as I understand, the movie is 3 hours long, which I think is longer than the show is itself if you see it on stage.
And this was only the first half. But we now exist inside of intermission.
Yeah.
For 1 year.
Other than that, my relationship with Wicked has been this, is that it's one of those movies, like very similar to Hamilton, where I did not want to know the plot.
Right. I agree.
Somehow, to this point in my life, I have avoided knowing what the plot is, despite having listened to a lot of the music.
Okay.
I was familiar with like Defying Gravity and What Is This Feeling and Popular and The Wizard and I.
Okay.
But I would say, unbelievably, what was it, like Dancing Through Life? That had never come across my radar before.
Okay.
Despite listening to a lot of the music from the show, and I still do not know how it ends. Like, I do not know what happens in part 2.
Yes.
At all. And other than that, it will get us to the point where we start at the Wizard of Oz. But I thought, like, what was very interesting and very well done, and it was a very hard thing for the movie, I think, to have to pull off, is that they were expertly doing a great job of paying tribute to the Broadway show and the Wizard of Oz movie at the same time.
Okay, so they were like really taking all things into consideration in a way that will likely please fans.
I think so.
Okay,
yes.
And that to me is like one of the most fascinating aspects of doing this particular review, because like with the upcoming like HBO like Harry Potter series or whatever, it's like we know that source material, so like I have depictions in my head, I have like ideas, I have like whatever, so like everything I feel could be under scrutiny. This, I walked in with just no idea.
Just nothing.
Well, with the one exception being whilst buying my popcorn, I swear the guy behind the counter was attempting to spoil the movie
sure
for
was.
me.
He was like, it was one of those things like, no spoilers, no spoilers. He's like, it's not a spoiler, it's not a spoiler. Look, listen to this exact part. It's important at the end of the movie. And it's like, that's a spoiler.
That's a spoiler. It's like, stop talking now, please. I'm so close. I'm so close.
Like, I am feet away from the theater. You have seen The Wizard of Oz, though.
I have seen The Wizard of Oz 20 years ago, and I wasn't completely paying attention because it was played during band class.
I see.
And it was a day where we could either talk quietly amongst ourselves or
like,
watch the movie.
But you're like familiar enough with it to know like Dorothy, Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion,
yes.
Wicked Witch, Flying Monkeys, Wizard, Fraud.
Did not know Wizard Fraud.
Oh, did not know Wizard
so
Fraud.
that was
okay,
that for me was like
so fun.
he's not a wizard.
He's not a wizard.
Which even that was like one of those things where I was like, everybody else in the room knew, but me, I was like, what? You must be joshing me right now.
That's surprising that you have made it this far in life without knowing that about the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, I know. Well, so without any further ado, let's run the intro and we'll dig in for reals.
Okay.
I needed a fresh runway. I needed to come out of the intro because I have been thinking about this and have not wanted to say it out loud since the moment I left the movie theater last night. But sometime back, circa 2007-ish, I don't know, one James Cameron created a movie called Avatar that I would argue like changed cinema. It took a bar that existed and it lifted it up like 87 rungs, and it decidedly became like a new standard to which movies in the movie theater could be compared.
Right.
I believe that part of why that was so possible is because James Cameron, as a singular entity, has this determination and passion and commitment and willingness to wait as long as necessary and to fight the battles with the people who want to put the movie on screen so they can start making money to make sure that the movie is as good as humanly possible. And what you end up with is the beautiful world of Pandora, where every single pixel has been like considered and something is happening inside of it. There's bioluminescence or a creature or a thing or more world building, and that is what allows for this scenario where you are able to be fully and completely immersed in this alien planet. And last night, I think we witnessed the bar get raised again because this movie was so considerate, so thoughtful, so like thorough in every single category, every detail, every practical effect, every visual element, every single actor I thought was incredible and amazing, and this is a complete work of art.
It is. I mean, I can't disagree with you on anything, because when you say every practical effect, that is to say all of them. Basically, there is like some CGI for the flying monkeys.
Sure.
There's some CGI for like the book to glow, or like some magic to come out of some hands or whatever. But like, it's all practical. All of it. The sets are real. Like like the burning witch statue. The train. That's a real train.
Oh my gosh.
It's a 16-ton train.
Holy cow.
They planted 9 million tulips outside of Munchkin Land. 9 million.
That's real?
Yes, those were real flowers.
Holy crap.
Like unbelievable. And you're right. Like, I mean, normally when I write up my reviews, I kind of like work through the plot, and I'm just sort of like giving my notes about what I liked about the story, or like this character stood out to me or whatever. And it's like, I normally don't have notes for like camera movements. I don't have notes for set design and costumes and like individual and like the photorealistic the animals, Ben. The animals.
Yes.
Let me tell you who's not benefiting from this movie is Mufasa, the Lion King. The trailer that plays directly before the movie is making a mistake doing that, because you have to look at those photorealistic animals and then you go into Oz and you're like, that's a talking goat. That's just a real talking goat right there. That is how did they teach a goat how to talk? I don't know. It looks so good, and also Peter Dinklage was awesome.
He was
as
awesome.
the goat.
He was awesome.
So anyway,
I don't know how Peter Dinklage is the first person that we've thrown a name out.
I know.
That's the other thing too, is that like it's not just the set design, which was amazing. It's not just the costume design, which was amazing. It's not like all of the expansive world building, all of which was amazing. It is the fact that all of the actors were just downright incredible.
Dude,
like,
they're just crushing it.
Yes, I mean,
Yes.
like you've got. Let's see here with my list of everybody that I wanted to go in order, because everybody was just straight up capable. So you've got Jonathan Bailey, who's super famous from like the Bridgerton franchise, who apparently can dance exceptionally well. There's this like moment where he does this like tumbling maneuver right at the beginning of the song, and then you like you're waiting for like the camera to like switch as he like walks back towards you, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it's just him. Like you were like, oh, that they got a stunt guy or something. And
Yes,
it's like, nope. Yeah, the whole dancing through life sequence, just not to get completely out of order.
I know, yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? It's the best thing you can do.
Let's start there in this story about two witches with Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero, who this is my wife leaned over. I guess he rides a horse in Bridgerton, and it's the same horse.
I have seen the fact that it is the same horse. He has a tremendous rapport with his horse.
That was hilarious. I love it. And this time the horse can talk, which is even better.
Yes.
Anyway, not important. I guess, the dancing, like the flipping the books open, that's all him. Like he's doing it. That was his idea. The dancing on the books, I don't know if that's in the show or not. I thought that was like such a cool way to like make like a musical number like unique and new and fresh. It's like it's not just people dancing. We have to like invent a new way for them to dance. It's like they're dancing on the books. He's literally trampling on like, you know, the institution.
Yes,
like, literally with his feet.
Yes.
You know?
It's like it is a speaking, walking, talking metaphor.
Yes.
About what's happening. He is trying to convince everybody to go and party,
to go break the rules.
Yes, and they're all sitting there in the library, and then he is actively dancing on the books.
It just works so well because he's dancing on the books. He's trying to teach people how to break the rules, or he wants people to come do that with him and just dance through life or whatever. But then you, the audience, are watching a movie where all the rules are already broken because it's not like the real world. You're in Oz.
Right.
So, you know, he's like doing that, and they have this awesome like 3 rotating library shelves in the background.
Dude, I thought that was so clever.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are like real circus apparatus things.
Okay.
But like, you know, the way they put them, you're like, of course that's how a library in Oz would look.
Right.
Because like Oz already sort of breaks the rules, and so he's like using like that to his advantage. It's like the movie is using that to its advantage to help convey we're going to be breaking the rules with this character.
Right.
Yeah, and that I just thought that was so good. That whole song, I can't believe that song hadn't come across my radar before because it was so good. All the like the other thing is like a lot of times when you watch musicals, like what people don't like is that people keep breaking out into song. Like they're like that's unrealistic or whatever. It's like you're missing the point. Okay, right. But you know what? It doesn't feel like it's a problem at all here because all you've seen ahead of this is maybe just the Wizard of Oz, and they're always doing that there too. So it just sort of feels like that's an aspect of Oz. This is just how the people are there. Right. They just sing. This is just how it hit. Like Oz is a different place, and this is part of the culture of Oz.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. At no point in time did it seem like anybody was like talking about their talents as singers, despite the fact that the 2 main characters are exceptional singers.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So Jonathan Bailey, incredible. To continue my point,
yes,
everything,
your point.
Everything was thorough. And then from there, you've got Ariana Grande, who, like, I don't know if you need to go back and rewatch it or if you just noticed it as much as I did throughout the movie. And I know that our entire office is going to laugh at me as soon as I say this because it's an inside joke inside of our office, but her neck muscles were insane. Like, when she's belting it and going into this, like, opera level, like, vocal range.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is like she is, like, bench pressing a Mack truck with her voice.
Right.
Like, it's like what you are witnessing, to the best of my knowledge, which, I mean, to be fair, is limited, but it's like you are seeing somebody who is trained very hard to be able to do what she's doing inside of those moments.
Yeah.
And I would say that Ariana Grande was like one of the big things that like when I first heard this movie like was released, I honestly, I think that was the point where I was kind of like, I don't know how this is gonna turn out. Like, you know, it felt maybe a little bit like that. Like, let's get like a big splashy, like, you know, pop star to come in
person to come do it
and play.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, she seemed so into it. Like I thought her acting was amazing.
Well, that's the thing is that like I don't know, I don't follow Ariana Grande very much and like whatever her celebrity personal life drama or anything is.
Oh yeah, I have no knowledge of any of those things.
I don't
whatsoever.
know, but like I used to watch her on Nickelodeon in Victorious.
Okay.
You know, where she's like the funny friend.
Right.
And then I know she transitioned into singing. I know she's been on SNL a bunch of times. I know she can do like the voice impressions, and like everyone thinks she's like an incredible vocalist. But it was like this was like the perfect character for all of her talents in one.
Yes.
It's like you know her as the singer, but like, do you know her as the comedian? Do you know her as the actor? Because she's hilarious.
She was so funny. Yes.
I mean, so funny. Like the popular song in particular. That, I mean, what a showcase. That was probably my favorite like song in the whole
like the scene.
The whole scene. Because like they're doing this thing with her the whole time where she keeps striking all these poses. Like it's almost like very Barbie-esque, but they like crank the ham up to like 10 on it.
Yeah.
Which is saying something because Barbie is pretty hammy at times. But like it is so funny. And they add these like sound effects every time she does it, which is so funny. But in that song in particular, she keeps like striking poses and like zoom in on a thing. And it's like the comedic way to, like she's able to like land the spot and like be so perfectly still. And then like, you know, the song itself is like really good singing, but then she like adds this other layer of like, there's a point, you know, a lot of the songs she's talking to Elphaba and they're like kind of interacting with each other.
Yeah.
But then at one point Elphaba leaves and it's just her dancing in the hallway. And at that point she has free reign. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like you have got it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's exactly what it goes back to. It's like they chose people for these roles that were going to be capable enough to execute them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I think that that's like such a big thing, like with Broadway, is that you have to be so multi-talented to be able to get up there and do the performance on all levels.
Yeah.
You know, and do it live, do it right the first time in real time with an audience right there. And, you know, it's like, like to like that requires such a specific kind of skill. And so it was amazing to see that, like, that brought in. I think there was like a scene where she like jumps up on the chandelier and like the chandelier even I felt like rotated at like the exact right speed for like the piece of the song that she was doing. Like, it seems like those are the kinds of things that are just like hard to get exactly right.
It feels like how many times do you have to spin around on that chandelier?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like we took 78,000 takes.
I'm wondering like how many times do you have to do the poses, you know?
Right.
To just like really get it or whatever.
That's the thing is that like, you know, the chemistry amongst everybody on screen too seemed like it was so effortless. Like you almost wonder like, and I mean this is something like would be fascinating to like watch the interviews like on their press tour or whatever, but like the flow state that it seemed like everybody involved seemed to be with, because even like the ensemble dances, like where, you know, somebody would like do like a specific like maneuver and then like everybody would like lock in and do the exact same thing. Like the timing was impeccable. Like I don't know who's coaching these people. Like that's, I think the magnitude is what continuously kept blowing my mind, was like, how is it that like even that person like in the back left corner of the shot is also doing it exactly right, you know?
Right.
Like, I mean, it was everywhere.
Yeah, it was like not a hair out of place.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it just kept blowing my mind in that regard. So anyway, so Ariana Grande, I thought she crushed it. I thought her comedic timing was spectacular all throughout. I thought the execution of all of her dance move, all of her singing, her neck muscles. Watch it next time. Because did you see it?
I mean, yes. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I didn't like take note of it, but it's not like, oh wait, what?
In my notes, Ariana Grande's insane neck muscles.
She's got that neck, man.
I know.
Y'all, right there, we need to take a quick pause to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Aura Frames. Because, let's be honest, what most people really want for the holidays is to see their favorite people more often. That's why this year, the best gift you can give, besides, you know, plane tickets somewhere tropical maybe, is an Aura digital picture frame. The Aura digital picture frame is an absolute staple across our entire family. Like, we have one in our home, our parents have one, our grandparents all have them. And it's because it's incredible. We go on so many family trips and everyone's taking their own photos that inevitably don't end up getting shared. But with Aura Frame, we can upload all our photos, and both our parents across town and our grandparents across the country are in on all the action. I've even found it makes for like a good conversation starter at family gatherings. Like, wait, where was that one taken? Where were you guys there? Plus, you can order the frame online and preload it with the photos and videos using the Aura app, so it is ready to go right out of the box. Gone are the days where your grandparents were excited to open that digital frame, but then you have to spend the next 3 hours of Christmas missing dinner setting it up and wondering, where's the memory card? No, you locked it. No, the photos have to be smaller. God, oh my, Janie, what's the Wi-Fi? Call Michael. Just write it down, guys. Love you, Grandma. But for a limited time, visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code JVerseB at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code JVerseB. This exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal is their best of the year, so don't miss out. Terms and conditions apply. Link in the description down below. And now back to Wicked. Whee! But also, like, it's the extreme ditziness of the character at all times.
Yes.
But then, like, a lot of times it's hard for those characters to, like, ever feel, like, real and emotional and vulnerable. But, like, she handles those transitions as well.
Yeah, that was the character design, and this is something, again, like, where I don't know, maybe people are a lot more familiar with this, because I know Wicked is beloved anyway, so maybe this is already, like, something that has been neatly folded into like that character design. It kind of reminds me of The Fault in Our Stars, Augustus Waters. Like, in book form, I feel like he's spectacular, and then in actor form, he's also spectacular. And so I don't know if this is like a known, like, how that character is. Like, it perfectly walks that line.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
is it writing or is it her?
Exactly. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. Where it's like she could be this ditzy character that you could just immediately hate, a la, Mean Girls.
Yeah.
What's the
Regina George?
Regina George. Yeah. But instead, it's sort of like she just keeps having all these spectacular moments. And actually, while we're on it, we'll just go ahead and bring it down, because this is another one that I thought worked really well. So Galinda's character in particular, I felt like kept doing this thing where she was like doing the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Right.
But there's a big lesson in conversation about, like, the difference between, like, intent versus impact.
Right.
And so often it can be the case, like, where somebody might say something uncouth and they would say, well, that wasn't my intention. And then the problem is that it's like, whether it was your intention or not, the impact ended up being rather significant.
Right.
I thought this movie turned it on its head in that regard in quite an interesting way. So there was a sequence of events that I was following that I thought was really amazing, which is that the character of Bach has basically immediately spotted Galinda upon arriving, just like everybody seems to, the same way that, like, she just owns the scene.
Right,
She stands out, she's dressed in pink while everybody else is in blue. She's like the beacon. He immediately comes over and expresses interest, and she's like, strangers are just people I haven't met yet, or whatever. And then she like, walks away. So she like has this like clever way to like walk away from a conversation. She clearly doesn't want to like necessarily like further,
right?
But she's not actively like aggressively rude about it. She just like finds a way to exit.
Yeah, good poise.
Good poise. So then later on, Bach approaches her again and is sort of like under this spell of like, I would do anything for you. And Galinda's response is to like look around the room and basically point out Elphaba's sister Marissa, and is sort of like
Nessa Rose. Yeah. Oh, Marissa is the actress.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Nessa Rose. Yes, you are right. I had them back to back, and then I looked at my notes wrong. Anyway, so she points her out and says, go ask her to the dance.
Yeah.
And Bach's whole thing is basically like, yeah, I'll do that for you. Like, I'll ask her to the dance.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And what ends up happening is Bach goes over and asks her to the dance, which makes her ridiculously happy, which then now I've got it wrong. Nessa Rose, his happiness makes Elphaba so happy that she requests to Madame Morrible.
Yeah, I couldn't quite catch what her Madame Morrible. Like horrible.
Once you see Morrible written, it's impossible to not know.
I know. Because I was only hearing it. It's like Madame Morrible, and it's like no, Morrible, like horrible.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, so her happiness makes Elphaba happy enough to request that Morrible takes Galinda into their lessons, and then that makes Galinda empathetic to Elphaba, who is dancing alone and the laughingstock of the party. So then Galinda joins in with Elphaba, which turns the tide in the right direction, and everyone ends up having this like amazing time, and Elphaba and Galinda end up being best friends, all because Galinda pawned Bach off on Nessa Rose.
Right.
And it's like, so intent versus impact. It's like, in that particular moment, Galinda's intent is to make Bach
go away.
Yeah. The impact is she ends up being best friends because of it. It's like, that is weird. That is not how stories are usually structured.
I know. It's like, you don't think she's not actually trying to help Nessa Rose in that moment.
Right.
Right. And it's like, this part isn't resolved in part 1. I don't know if it'll be resolved in part 2, where like that feels like the kind of information that might like eventually be revealed.
It might end up, like causing a shift further
like, wait a
on
minute,
down the line.
I was only friends with you because of that.
Right.
Kind of thing. You only have magic because of me, because of this situation.
Right.
Right.
But it's also one of those things where it's like things seem to work out in a way that ultimately worked out. And like, it's not like we didn't also genuinely have true friendship after that fact. It's just sort of like built on this like weird ignition point.
Right. But do they work out? Because even when then Glinda at that point and Elphaba are boarding the train, Bach seems like he's starting to take more notice of Glinda again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So then that you're right. That is a big question as to like where the further conflict will ultimately end up coming down the line. These are the types of things where I feel like everybody who's seen
everyone who
story,
sees the show, they're like, yes, of course we know how it goes.
They're like pulling their hair out.
You get the unique viewing opportunity to see what people who don't know how the show is going to end guess what's going to happen.
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly.
We're just like, it's like, part of me is like, well, we can make Wicked theories. And it's like, no, we can't, because everyone just knows how it ends.
I know. Yes, literally. So that even that conversation happened where I was like, is there a world where the man who fathered Elphaba just is the Wizard of Oz?
Oh, I have no idea.
Like Oz is her father?
That would be...
Because isn't that, like, we don't really know who that man is.
We don't know who that guy is, yeah. No.
It's like, Elphaba's father's identity feels relevant.
It does. And he kind of, like, refers to, like, having a daughter or something.
Yes.
But then, like, he's not magical either, you know.
He's not magical.
He's not magical.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then there's that little green bottle she has.
Right.
And part of it's, like, is that going to explain, like, you don't get an explanation for, like, why she's green. And it's like, do you need an explanation? Does that undercut the point that it doesn't matter?
I think it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, my general interpretation was that, like, whatever tonic they were drinking was green. And, like...
Right.
So maybe, whether it's, like, symbolic, like it's using green as, like, a color of you know...
the affair or something.
Exactly, yeah. And so she's just, like, the product of that. Who knows? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll... Like, I don't think it needs to be resolved. But I'm just wondering if it will be.
Yes, yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah.
So then, continuing on down our line of spectacular people, I did this in an order that I thought made sense, which was to start with Jonathan Bailey and Ariana Grande, because that brings us to Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah.
And who plays Elphaba, who is spectacular.
Spectacular, top to bottom, start to finish, unstoppable.
I mean, like...
Unlimited, I should say.
The emotional power coming from Elphaba was outstanding.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, from square one, like, you immediately understand her plight right away.
You do.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. You absolutely do.
You can empathize with her immediately.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, like, this is, like, one of those things that I would be curious to see. Like, it's not like when you're watching a Broadway show, you can't pick up on the emotional subtleties of the actors. I mean, that's part of, like, even what they're doing on such a phenomenal level on Broadway is doing that from afar to people in the seats in the back.
Yeah. You got to perform to the people in the back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do think that that's where, like, this version of cinema lent something really special to Elphaba in particular, because you had these moments where this character who is, like, so strong and so stoic then, like, break into these, like, emotional moments where she was, like, sad or crying, and especially maybe, like, with the green. I don't know if, like, that was, like, emphasizing some of those, like, moments, because, like, her eyes would become red.
They become red,
and so it would become, like, very, like almost, like, visceral. Like, you felt those emotions in such, like, a clear way. I thought that was something that was, like, really, like, just bursting out. So, like, every time a big impactful moment, like, you really felt it all the way to your core.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've really tried to keep my eyes off of any reviews, although I don't think it matters, because if people are disagreeing with what we're saying, then I don't know what movie they saw. But
yeah, I know that's one of those where it's like, if it gets panned, then it's going to be like, well, then
I don't know.
Then apparently I don't know movies.
There's no way. That was like, I know it, like, I think someone, like, even in our group was like, if she was crying, I was crying. And it was like, yep, you could feel it.
Yes.
Yeah, all those moments were huge. And you're right, like, her eyes would get really red, which would add this extra layer of it. So then let me just talk about this, is color in general, which, like, in the movie.
Color in general in the movie.
I just loved how bright and colorful it was all around.
Yeah.
Like, every part of it, because that is part of like Wizard of Oz is famously like one of like the first color movies ever.
Okay.
You know, like if not like the first color movie, I don't know. And so it is like, hey, we can do color now. Let's make everything bright.
Yes,
and,
yes.
You know, and so it's very bright and colorful. And this movie was that way. Everything is bright all of the time. And it was just like, it made me realize like actively while I'm watching it, like how much I'm just over all of the dark, gritty, you know, Dark Knight effect on Hollywood.
Right,
You
yes,
know?
yeah.
Like, I loved The Dark Knight, don't get me wrong. I don't think every movie since then needs to be dark and gritty.
Yes, yes.
You know?
It was extremely refreshing. But to me, that's even more part of the challenge that I think that you're up against. Because again, if you were to compare it to like Avatar, where you've kind of got this like, you have a world that is coded in a way that like is unique. I mean, you're bringing that like bioluminescence, you're bringing all of, like the unique creatures and characters and the alien plants and lots of like, I'm like an aquarium nerd. So like a lot of the things are like corals and stuff like that. So it was bringing lots of like creative elements into a world and kind of creating something. But this it's different because of the way that like the buildings are more like metallics, you know, like they're like hard structures and being able to like incorporate the color into like all of those different places and make it work.
Right, like Avatar, it's like, it is bright and colorful a lot of the time, but everything is CG.
Yeah, also
you know,
true,
they can make it that way in post. Everything's bright and colorful, and I'm sure they, you know, upped everything in post and things, but it is bright and colorful and practical.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, the usage of practical effects all throughout the movie. I think there was like the scene where they finally like meet Oz and he like goes behind the curtain and like I think he's got the small little balloon man parachute that he like puts on like a little thing. You could sort of see it like just sort of like creak its way right off, and then like the moon is sort of like bouncing off of his head and stuff. Like it's just that, I mean, it was also like fun and playful, and it just ended up working. You know, I think that's like in so many ways what we're kind of like yearning for from movies now is like, it was really cool to see like what CG meant in terms of like how it could open new horizons for storytelling.
Right.
But it's like whenever a new piece of technology is introduced, and like I've experienced this sometimes like when we tinker with like AI and stuff, it's like it's a fun party trick at first because you're like, whoa, how crazy is that? Like it did it. You know, but then once you kind of get like acclimated to what it can do, it's sort of like that is what it does. Like, you know, you know, it's like been there, done that, seen that. Like it loses like a little bit of like its glow.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely felt like CG has been something that like movies have fallen back on or just like rely on to do most of the heavy lifting for effects.
Yeah.
Whereas like when it was introduced, it was like, oh, hey, we have this thing. How can we continue to make movies the way we are doing and then add this layer on top of it? And now it's almost just like use as little of the practical stuff as possible, cram it with CG, ship it out. And this was like, it felt very like back to basics, but I mean, not basics, like, but like in a huge way.
Yeah.
And then like do as much as you can practically, and then if you need a special effect, go use it for that.
Right.
Which they did.
And I think that's like the right application, is that it's like you start to use it as a tool, and it's not to like undersell the importance of CG or like the work that those people are doing as well, which is very impressive. It's just, it's like, where in the production pipeline are you going and putting in like the huge lift? Because I think what used to happen is you were going to produce a film, and over here you had to like build sets and items and puppets or, you know, whatever. Like you had to figure out how you're going to make it work, and then there was like the edit. And I feel like now it was almost like you film the movie in a green room, and then a lot of this time, this big, you know, load of work is being done behind the computer by different kinds of artists. Right. So it's not to say that like, you know, you just need the healthy blend. You need to use them respectively when the each is called for.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what again was just so well executed here. To shift gears entirely, there was another scene, you know, because this movie is a musical.
Yes.
And I thought that all the music was really incredible, but there was one scene in particular that I thought they used a really clever play, which was using silence.
Yeah.
Very powerfully.
At the party.
Mm-hmm. And so it's like to to have this scene where like Elphaba walks in, and it kind of was giving me like flashbacks to Wednesday a little bit.
Dude, okay, I'm so glad you brought that up. I literally, when we got home last night, I was like, you know, like their rooming setup and even like the dance scene in particular both felt like extremely Wednesday. But then I had to like back it up and be like, no. Wednesday is extremely wicked. Yeah, is actually what happened.
Yes.
Yeah, because like, yeah, you're right. Like, who like Wednesday's roommate in the show is like this bright, colorful, blonde, peppy girl, and she's like this dark goth girl.
Yes.
And like then she comes to the dance and she's dressed all in black and she does this wackadoo dance and it's awesome.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happens here.
Down
to the letter. So it's like, yes, Wednesday is taking a lot of inspiration from Wicked, almost no doubt.
Almost no doubt. Yeah, for sure. And so I thought that was I thought that scene was really cool too, because it was, I think, by not playing music behind it and having Elphaba just do this unusual dance to silence with all the eyes looking on her. Like I mean, I felt like that just spoke to like strength and bravery, and I don't even know. I mean, I was like, in that moment, I was just like, dude, get it. Like,
oh man,
that is so good.
It was, because it was like, she was down there and she was like, I'm going to defy all of you right now. It's like, you're all laughing at me right now, and I'm gonna dance anyway. And then like, even in the act of dancing it, she was like scaring them, like, oh, if you're gonna be scared of me, I'm gonna scare you.
Right, yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. But then, like, what that was such a powerful scene, because that's when Galinda is like coming to all these realizations that like, oh no, like it's because like she's the one who got me into the magic, which is like the only thing that hasn't gone right for her like her whole life. Yeah,
yes,
is that like now she's got this like wand that she can like maybe go learn to do magic with, and she's like, oh my gosh, I've done a terrible thing, and like everyone's laughing at her because of me, but she doesn't even know that, so I have to be the one to fix it.
Right.
And it's like she's able to communicate all of that silently.
Yes.
As well, and then like go out and do it. And even when she goes out there, you can tell like Elphaba gives is like, oh, are you about to make it worse? Are you about to come out here to make fun of me even more?
Right.
And like just like win over her trust like very silently.
Yes.
Yeah. Which then she does.
But then she does.
Yeah.
And then they have like the really cool like way that they like wave.
Yeah, like the little wave thing up there.
Which I thought
that
was really
very
then like, because then it came back later on the train.
train.
And it was like, oh.
Yeah, I know. That was very good.
Yeah. Okay, where from here?
Where from here, indeed. Let's see. The other thing, in terms of like practical effects, that I feel like they kept doing such a good job of, that I like, it made it feel like you were watching like a movie, you know, was the way in which they used the cameras. Like they had very like practical camera effects, where like you know, Galinda would point to the sky or something and the camera would follow her up. Like they would just tilt up with her, which was very fun. Or there was times where they're like kind of like getting their faces closer and closer and the camera would come in with them as they were doing it.
Yes.
Or like there was just lots of like very like someone is pushing, like moving the camera or rotating a thing on the camera or physically moving it with the characters that you just do not get a lot of anymore.
Yeah, well, and that's where like I go back to that kind of like flow state that I must imagine like the whole cast of this film was sort of like all just like they were just jiving, like people were just vibrating on the same frequency, because like it feels like the kind of art that like you can't be doing based on technical know-how. Like It feels like the type of thing that you need to do based off of like feel from years of experience, and then also being granted an amount of trust to successfully get that shot done while a million other things are all happening at the same time. Like it's a gutsy call to go for that.
Yeah.
Because in the meantime, you have all these actors who are having to pull off like incredible things, and if you mess up that shot, then it's like you got to run it again, and like how many times they're going to be able to do it perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, no, you're exactly right, because like, you know, like if part of the scene is that it is going to be part of the comedy of the scene is that the camera is going to whip up with her hand or whatever, then it's like not only does your actress have to have the comedic timing to get that motion just right,
but
your cameraman and like the director and everyone has to be like perfectly in sync with it.
Yes.
At the exact moment for that effect to work. And it's like there's a lot of moving parts there, and they all have to get it and know exactly what the timing is, and then give it to the editor, who then has to also know exactly what the timing is.
Yes.
And really narrow in to get that 1 second right that keeps the audience laughing a little bit more. And I felt like I was smiling the whole movie.
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely.
they got all these things right. And then in the song, What Is This Feeling? The Loathing song.
Yes.
They did, I feel like a lot of movies don't want you to, know you're watching a movie a lot of the time.
Okay.
By which I mean, when you move the camera, it becomes a lot more obvious.
Yes.
If there's, a digital zoom, it doesn't feel real. If there's, a real camera zoom where the camera physically moves forward, you can, you're reminded of the camera.
Yep.
Or, but they were doing the split screen effect.
Yes.
During the song, which is, another thing where it's oh, now this is a movie.
It is a movie, yeah,
is a
because
movie, yeah.
because you've seen the screen split.
Because you're reminded that you're watching a screen.
You've acknowledged
the movie.
Yeah.
But it's you know what? But it was so good, watching them go back and forth in that way and flopping. Oh, it's just that was another one. I thought, What Is This Feeling? And Popular and Defying Gravity were all just I was just they're all so good.
No, I know. I mean, and it's funny because we were having a conversation with a fellow content creator earlier this week. We were for a video that we're doing next week, and he was explaining to us that in musical theory and when you're composing a piece, it can sometimes be the case, and hopefully I'm getting all the terminology right. You have to change the key of the music in order to accommodate the vocal range of your performer.
Yeah.
Right? And there was but sometimes magic happens and the performer just matches the key that the song was intended to be played exactly within.
Right.
And that's when you get perfect cohesion.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking about that all last night because that had never occurred to me before. I've never taken a musical theory class in my life. It never occurred to me that they're changing what key the song is in based on who is singing it,
right?
And how that can and sometimes impact what the overall tone of the music
the emotion
is.
Of the scene or whatever.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but that I think is the perfect working analogy for going back to your camera work, where it's and having the performer nail it and having the cameraman nail it. It's you need both of them to be able to do it at the same time, while then also having that person singing the right key
I know.
music, and it's you're piling complexity on top of complexity. It was and nailing it.
But they were just getting it. They were just getting it all right all the time. And then it's just this fun, bright, colorful story about two witches who aren't friends and then who become friends. And in the middle of it, they're also weaving in excellent, just sort of what's messaging.
Yeah, the messaging
overall.
about the prejudice towards animals,
The
and
animals,
stuff.
the racism and
Yes, massive themes of that. And then this was another one where I think in that opening scene where Elphaba arrives at the school for the first time, she gets upset and she throws all the benches and everything in the air, and something swings down and crashes into the picture of Oz.
Yeah.
And the image behind Oz is all
the animals. Yeah.
And so it's clearly the animals are at the heart of the magic. And then that's where I was even being okay, and then Elphaba was raised by the creatures of the governor's household.
Dulcibert.
Yeah, the Dulcibert.
Yeah.
And I was is that part of what's giving her magic? Because of her closeness with the animals in the world. And then she's of course advocating for them as well.
And she's advocating for them, big time throughout the movie. Yeah, I thought, and I don't know if I thought it was when the seal fell. Boy, that's such foreshadowing that Oz is going to be the bad guy.
That should have been the moment
That's
where
so
I was
obvious. I know.
Obvious.
Obvious. I know. I kept thinking it was going to be her dad, the governor or whatever, that was doing stuff to the animals or whatever, but it wasn't. It was Oz.
Yes, yes.
But that should have been so obvious. I don't know if you noticed, when the seal fell, there was 4 animals back there, and they were in red, green, blue, and yellow. And I was and this is the seal on a school. I was well, that was very Hogwartsian of them.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I don't know if that's part of the Oz lore, but that felt intentional.
Yeah. I did not notice that. But that's a good catch. That's a good catch. I mean, I don't even know. It's you're right. This is a 2 hour and 40-minute movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I found it to be completely enjoyable from, basically the word go. I mean, the one thing that I think we were up against, and I would almost love to go see it again in a nicer theater, is I almost thought the sound in our theater in particular, I was you could turn it up to like 80 if you want.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, like, I'll take this as aggressively as you want to deliver it.
I would see it in theater because the bigness of like the numbers and the color and the world is like very present and like a big part of the experience.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Similar
absolutely.
to Avatar, where it's like, go see it in theaters because it will not be the same at home.
Do you think this will break a box office record?
Oh, yes.
I think it will.
I think so, because not only is it tremendously good, it is coming out. It's like last year we had like the Barbenheimer or whatever. Yeah. So they have Wicked and Gladiator 2 coming out at the same time.
Okay.
Which is they're like aiming for that kind of like intersection.
Wickedator.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Gladiated. Something. I don't know if it has a fun name, but like this is a weekend to be at the box office. Plus, next weekend is Thanksgiving, and that is a huge movie weekend historically because you got all the family together. We got to go do something. We all got the day off. What are we gonna do?
I know it's gonna be interesting to see if it's gonna end up crunching Moana's numbers at all.
Oh my gosh!
Moana 2 coming out next week.
Moana 2 also surprisingly didn't have a trailer before Wicked at our theater.
But that
was a weird one.
That was a weird choice.
I don't know why they didn't do that.
Well, so before we close out today's episode, Jay, where do you rank this?
It's hard for me, like, very high. Like you're saying, it felt like it's like a new bar for movies.
I genuinely feel that way. Like, whoever the people were involved, if you told me that this same crew of people was doing anything else, I would see it on that basis.
I know. I kept going back and forth in my mind. I was like, is it like the best movie I've ever seen?
Right, I know.
I was like, is it my favorite movie? And I'm like, is it my favorite? I kept trying to go back. I was like, I think it's the best made movie I've ever seen.
I would agree with that.
And I'm like, I don't know, like it might be the best movie I've ever seen. I don't know. It's hard for me to not give it like a 99 or like just a straight up 100. Like, in terms of quality, it was like insane.
I know.
I just hadn't experienced anything like that.
And that's what's so cool about it. So, like, even in my head while I was watching it, not that movie theaters don't do this, but like while I was watching this, in my head I was almost like, you could charge more to watch this.
Oh, do not do that.
Do not
quality price movies.
Yes, no, of course that is not what I'm saying. But like whilst watching it, I mean, I felt like I was getting like this strange opportunity to get to experience something, and maybe that's even like what movies like when the Wizard of Oz came out. Like I imagine that people went into the movie theater and had a similar phenomenon. You know,
that is the thing.
Yeah.
Too is that like if you're gonna try and make the same kind of splash as the Wizard of Oz, good freaking luck, right? Because it's just like one of the most. I think the ruby slippers like from the Wizard of Oz are like the most expensive movie prop, like the most valuable movie prop of all time.
I mean,
think that's like a fact,
I wouldn't doubt that.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's a fact. I don't know. You can double check me on that. They're up there. I'll tell you that. And it's like that movie changed everything. It was like it's like how Snow White changed animation. It's like Wizard of Oz was like it was like different for all movies ever. And like to like make a splash like that, because that's what you're going to be up against. It's like they did a pretty good job.
No,
it was really like just something else.
It really was.
And like I'm looking forward to part 2 so hard. I think it's like 1 year to the day, right?
I know, 1 year to the day. Yeah,
1 year to the day that they're doing. So here's some other things I was just thinking about, like what do we have to account for in part 2? Since obviously everyone's going to know the answers, but here's going to be me wondering out loud about it. Here's all my questions still left to happen.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Remaining mysteries. So at the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy lands in Oz, boom, crushes the Wicked Witch of the East.
Okay.
Right? Elphaba is the Wicked Witch of the West. But the Wicked Witch of the East is her sister, and she comes to get the ruby slippers from her, but Dorothy's already got them on, right? So that's like the plot of the Wizard of Oz.
And
anyway.
that is why the Wicked Witch of the West hates Dorothy.
Right, yes. So does that mean that Nessa Rose is going to be the Wicked Witch of the East? Right?
I think so.
I think so too.
And then
right? They kept showing this particular silver set of shoes, which I'm like, are those going to become the ruby slippers? Like, they almost must be, because they got a lot of screen time.
They made a big deal
about it. Even though Galinda also pulls out her own pair of ruby slippers somewhere along the way.
We did see that.
Yeah,
right.
I was like, wait, are those or the silver ones? Because you keep showing the silver ones, and those are definitely going to be important.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Because it flared in my brain too. Because I was like, everything she has is pink, and those are red. Those are decidedly red.
That was a very ruby slipper moment for this franchise or whatever. And I'm like, so I think because that's her sister, she almost has to become the Wicked Witch of the East. And I can almost see here's what I think. Madame Morrible will come back and be like, hey, you're your sister's sister. Maybe that was the iPad falling off the desk. Sorry about that. You're your sister's sister. Maybe you're magical too. Obviously she's going to start taking... Galinda, I don't think in this movie did any magic at all.
Other than the very beginning where she shows up in like the floating orb thing.
Well, but that's in the future.
True,
so
yes.
Clearly she will learn magic.
Yeah.
So here's what I think is that she will learn magic, and she will turn the shoes from silver to red. That will allow the Nessa to walk, is what I think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. That's my guess, because they're shoes. And, I don't know. I don't know anything about the Wicked Witch of the East. These are just my guesses. That might allow her to walk, but she will become evil because Bach is going to leave her for Galinda. Oh. So they will both be Wicked Witches.
Yep, okay.
Right?
Okay.
There's that. Or maybe she won't be. I don't know how it's going to go at all. These are just my guesses. These are what's left unanswered.
Do you think that the lion that they say from the classroom is...
1,000,000% that's the Cowardly Lion.
Okay.
Which makes me wonder then, are we going to see the Scarecrow get built? Are we going to see the Tin Man get built or something? Those would both be very cool things to see.
Oh, that would be.
Apparently in The Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch has no power in Munchkin Land, so we'd have to see why is that the case?
Okay.
And then she can't why do the ruby slippers protect Dorothy from her? We don't have that particular answer yet.
Okay.
And then I think those are all the questions I think I still had about it. Oh, who was Elphaba's father? We figured that out. We kind of talked about that earlier.
Talked about that a little bit, yeah. I think the fact that it wouldn't. I go back to that. I was even thinking about what we were talking a little bit. The fact that he lives in Emerald City and it's a green tonic and he's obsessed with the color green and she is green and he talks about having a family and I think he even says at one point in time he's maybe one day you could live up here with me.
Right. It does seem like all signs point to Oz's father.
It does seem that way.
Right.
And again, this is probably the type of thing where people who've seen it are just yes.
Yeah.
Or no.
Or no. I know.
But that's hopefully that is adding to the fun of this critique because we don't know all
because
the
we don't know, I know.
That people can easily know the information exists.
Do not tell if someone ruins the ending of the show for me, which I have kept from myself for 20 years now. I'm going to be so mad.
Jay, you only have 364
I know.
more days
I have to survive
of keeping your sensory deprivator 9000 on.
Or I could see the play in person. I would still be okay with that.
That would
count.
Solution. That would count.
Which I've tried to do on 2 separate occasions, and on both times we've had to cancel our tickets. So it's not that I haven't tried to see this play. I've been wanting to know what the story is of Wicked for so long.
It's been great.
I know.
Been great. I give it a 99.
You have 99. There you go. Yeah. I'm right there with you.
What did you guys think?
What did you think?
Have you seen it? What were your favorite parts? Are our guesses anywhere near the mark? Let us know in the.
But also don't.
Oh yeah.
But also don't. Because
Yeah. Just don't tweet us.
Just tell us how entertaining it was to hear us guess.
Yeah. In the towel section down below. Otherwise, guys, until next time. Bye.